Okay, so today I'm going to do my Alembic bass and their variations video, or variants. I didn't want to use that word because I think we're all sick of it. Anyway, let's start with the Alembic. Here's my 1981 Alembic. There's the headstock. There. Now, this bass, I still have the original thing that came with it. 1981 long scale bass, all the builders that participated in making it. To put things in perspective, in 1980, when I graduated high school, a Fender bass in Sam Ash Music on 48th Street was about $350. I know because my dad bought me a fretless bass. But over at Manny's, a couple of doors down, this Alembic, not this particular Alembic, was sitting on a stand, and it was $17.50. To me back then, that was like, I'll never have an Alembic bass. It was like I could buy 5 Fenders for the price of an Alembic. And like, you know, my father had no idea. He was like, why would you do something like that? But anyway, this bass runs on a power supply. It takes 2 batteries, but you plug in here with this 5-pin, and then you have, if you want to use the bass in mono, you come out of here, go through any amp, or if you want to use it in stereo, 2 different amps, each pickup routed through a different amplifier, you can do that. So that's kind of, I guess, why the guys at Alembic did this. And I'm not really an Alembic historian, but I think these were like made in the late 60s or so. And, you know, not everybody wanted to play a Fender bass. You could do things on here, obviously, that you can't do on a Fender. It has 24 frets. It's all active. It has a much brighter sound. And, you know, some people don't like them, but, you know, this is where all the custom stuff started from. Although I would argue, or at least point out, that Carl Thompson, who I'm going to see this afternoon, was making similar basses back in the early 70s. He made a lot of stuff. Everybody knows Carl. He made some neck through the body instruments, but definitely not anything as ornate as these. So this is where all the custom bass craze, I believe, started from. So that's the Alembic. So now we're getting to the variants. Here's the Oasis Space. I've shown this before. This bass, as played by Robert Cool Bell of Kool and the Gang, and Kenny Passarelli on Lifetime, Hall & Oates had a fretless one. Dave Murata sold a fretless one to somebody, I forget who. But this was made by ex-Alembic employee Gary Cooper and Louis Armstrong. Now, Gary Cooper and Louis Armstrong are 2 of my favorite people. Gary Cooper was great in The Fountainhead as Howard Rourke. And Louis Armstrong is, you know, the man who started like jazz trumpet and jazz in particular. But it's not those 2 guys. It's not Louis Armstrong and Gary Cooper, the actor and the musician. It's Louis Armstrong and Gary Cooper. Larry Cooper has passed away. I don't know when, but this bass does not have that stereo feature. It has no batteries in it. And the pickups look very much like Bartolini pickups, but they're not, there's no marking on them that says Bartolini. I hope the Alembic people won't throw me off the Facebook page, but I actually think I like this one better than my Alembic as far as the playability and the sound. It's got a 32-inch scale. The only bass that I have that has that. Okay, so that's the Alembic variant. Here's another variant. This is something I just got. This is a Hayek. Check this out. I believe it's the most beautiful bass in my collection. It's the same as the Alembic in its electronics. It has that 5-pin thing down here. and I haven't even plugged it in yet. I just got it. This is my 60th birthday present to myself that I got from Brian Barrett of the Low End Bass Shop. It's a great place to buy basses if you haven't already. I worked out a good deal with him for this. And this was the catalyst. Buying this was the catalyst for me to say I need to sell some basses now because it's getting ridiculous here. I have too many basses, so I want to narrow it down, and this is definitely going to stay. Take a look again at this back of this neck. Supposedly those are graphite. That's graphite in there. This bass doesn't have a truss rod, which kind of scared me. And, you know, I don't know. It's so far, in a couple of days, it plays beautifully. It's got very light strings on it, 45 to 90. That's what Brian recommended I put on here. Now I'm this guy with the big heavy strings, but I must say, now that I've tried these light strings, I think I'm going to drop my normal gauge down a bit. My left hand feels a lot better. I've been getting trigger finger every so often, not too much, but a couple of times this year, and it's just a bad thing. Can't imagine getting that with this bass. It's so incredibly easy to play. So this is the Hayek. I don't know who they work for Alembic, and they started a company. I think the guys from War played this as well. One guy was a chemical engineer. I've been reading something about it. So that's the Hayek. Both of these are California instruments. The Oasis and the Hayek, made by ex-Alembic employees. Now here's what I call the Brooklyn Alembic. It's a Vailette Citron. And it's made by Joe Vailette and Harvey Citron, who've gone on to do their own companies. Joe has a company that makes instruments, and so does Harvey Citron. He makes the Steve Swallow bass, and you know his designs have changed a lot. And this is definitely not one of the fancier ones. He's made some of this shape that are, you know, very beautiful maple and stuff like that. This is more plain, but nonetheless, I love this one. And it's passive, no batteries, no stereo. It sounds very similar to the Oasis. I have flat wounds on this Oasis, on this Citron, and I have round wounds on the Oasis. Okay, here's the last one. I call this the English Alembic. This is the JD. Looks like, you know, the Mark King bass. They're all pretty similar, but this is made in England. I could be wrong, but I think the guy's company owner is John Diggins. Bought this bass from my friend Dan Tracy, who I think bought it from Paul Ranieri. The preamp it doesn't really boost and cut a lot, but I think that's maybe a good thing, because I think if you have too much boost and cut, it blows up the front end of the amp, and it's kind of a pain in the ass. But this is another very beautiful bass, but of all of them, I think the neck is the most temperamental, and I really don't know why. But you set this thing up and it goes for a while, but you have to set it up a lot more than these other ones who are very, very stable. Maybe it's just my particular instrument or whatever, but it's maybe not as roadworthy as the other ones. It takes a little more effort to maintain. So there you go. Those are my Alembic style basses, and I hope that you enjoyed watching this video. These are 5 basses that I'm going to keep. I'm not going to sell them. And have a great day. Take care.